Back on the Utectic Sports Network, Assistant Sports Information Director Greg Tadish. Our At the Half segment. Our guest today is Emily Coleman. Welcome back to the rotation. We'll start right there. After missing all of last year injury-wise, you've had a lot going on. And how difficult was getting back into the swing of things and just getting back in basketball world? You have to have felt great about that.
Yeah, I'm really glad to be back. It sucked last year being out. I tore my labrum in my hip and ended up having surgery. But it was really nice to still be a part of the team and sit there. And I feel like I kind of got close with them and everything because I was only a sophomore last year. But coming back, it's just been really nice.
I talk a lot with high school kids in my former job and radio world. And even when you're injured, everybody's got a role on the team. Did you feel you had a role on the team? We'll get into your one coaching game in a minute. But other than that, did you feel you had a role, or were you just like, I'm just kind of left out and along for the ride?
Yeah, I feel like I had a role. I feel like some teams, they focus mainly on just the players in the game and don't really focus on the bench. But Coach Reese really does a good job of getting everyone involved, and our bench energy is one of the things that we really focus on the most. So that was probably my main job last year, is to make sure the whole bench was up and ready and into the game, because if the bench is in the game, it helps pick up everyone on the court.
I always ask Coach Reese for information on you guys when I'm going to talk to you, and he gave me a lot on you, and there's a lot we are not going to go into, so do not worry about that, even though I got some great things I want to ask you. But you did coach a game, and that's super interesting for a player and an athlete who's still in college. I guess he had COVID, and for some reason, how did you end up with the coaching job? Why do you pick you?
He knows I'll do whatever he asks, so he gave me a call and he was like, hey, Em, I have COVID. I need you to put an AirPod in and you're going to have to coach the game. And at first I was like, oh, haha, like you're funny. And he was like, no, I'm not joking. Like whatever I say, you need to tell them. So I was like, oh, okay. So I actually ended up coaching the entire game, and people did look at me kind of funny, but it was okay. I was out there screaming at Grace a few times, and I know people were just looking at me like, what is she doing? But they knew to look straight at me. It did look weird, but the other coach thought I knew everything that was going on, so...
Okay, so you were sort of in charge by de facto, even with the earpiece. Did it feel any different? Did you enjoy putting on the coaching shoes somewhat for one game? Did it feel weird? Did you get an insight to what Coach Reese goes through?
It did feel weird. I'm not going to cut him any slack because it wasn't that hard. I mean, I won the game, so...
We'll delve out of basketball, and I told my wife actually I was going to intro this interview this way. So you're my Ohio girl, thank goodness, because I am born and raised, and I've been waiting for somebody from Ohio. So Browns or Bengals?
Bengals, definitely.
Indians or Reds? And I swear I'm going to have Coach Reese bench you if you call them Guardians. Indians or Reds?
I'm not a baseball person at all, but I would say the Reds.
And Buckeyes or Bearcats?
Oh, Buckeyes.
All right, fine. You're 0 for 3 in that category. I might have to bench you anyway. You're 5-2 coming into the game today. And I sense there's more pressure on the women's team than the men's team based on what you guys did yesterday and the success you're having and just your chemistry and the players you got. Do you guys feel pressure? Do you feel game day pressure, in-game pressure? Do you feel any of that?
I'd say... the older ones, I would say, probably feel less than the younger ones, because I feel as he's always talking about the older ones used to come in and only win 7 or 8 games a season. So there's never been like a target on their back, so they know they can just come in and play. But I feel like being kind of younger, you need to come in and keep up with the expectation that's been set. So I'd say there's a little more pressure on the younger ones, but we try to play like there's none and change the culture. So, do
you feel that bullseye is there at all? I mean, 20-win season last year, and I expect that people think you guys can be players in the conference race. Do you miss out on the fact that, we're no longer the kind of under the radar team?
No, I think we like it. We always make jokes in the locker room that people don't want to lose to a bunch of pharmacists. So that's kind of like our thing we do.
Assistant Sports Information Director Greg Tadish. That's Emily Coleman. I know Mackenzie talked on Saturday when we had her, and she said that Coach calls you guys nerds, and and she admitted she was. And one of the big things he talks about is just be silly. And there's no doubt at lunchtime you guys are silly. Do you need that release from the scholastic load here and the classroom stuff you guys do? And how nice is it that basketball, while many people probably think, that's got to be a stressful time. You're going to practice and learning all this stuff, and coach is probably drilling you all the time and yelling at you. But that's the time you get to be silly.
Yeah, so basketball, the beginning of the season, it can be a little intense. But when the season kind of takes off and we're in gameplay and everything, it is our escape from school. And school is super hard here and very important. And if you take one of our bus trips, like half the team is literally studying the entire time. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But we have a good time. And when we come into practice, if we've had exams and stuff, he kind of knows because you can just tell by everyone's attitude. But we try to pick it up and we'll do something fun at the beginning or switch it up. So he knows.
He told me he was worried about this game today because there's a lot of athletes and girls with tests on Monday. Wednesday's kind of getaway day for Thanksgiving. I got the sense that he thought today's game was an easy game to sort of overlook. Did you view it that way?
Maybe not overlook, but he's been telling us like it's one of the hardest games to play right before Thanksgiving because everyone's focused on their flights and when they're getting home and if their bags are packed. And I know a lot of people did have exams today, which it does suck to have an exam on game day because you are not focused on your game or your scouting report or watching film. You're just focused on, am I going to pass this exam?
I told Mackenzie I always scour you guys on Twitter, and you still somewhat post a lot of stuff about your high school back in Ohio. You're just south of Columbus and Union Odo. How connected are you still with some of the players and some of the girls and even guys that have come through there? Because you do post a lot of stuff about them on social media. Yeah,
I'm still pretty close with my high school. My little sister, she decided to play basketball again this year. So that's been really hard to have to miss all that because I had to miss all of her volleyball and now basketball, obviously my favorite season, and I have to miss that. So that sucks. But me and my high school coach, we had a really good relationship. He was actually my best friend's dad. So I've always been super close with the school. And they have some freshmen this year that's really, really good. So I'm excited to go home and watch them.
You won a sectional game during your high school days. Are your best basketball days part of your high school days, or are they here at as a Eutectic?
I would probably have to say high school.
Is that frustrating that you haven't been able to enjoy that level of success in college as opposed to back in Union? I'm going to say it wrong. Union Odo, is that right?
Yes. I wouldn't really say frustrating. I'd just say different. I'd say in high school, I was just more focused on going to basketball and winning games and doing this because school, it came natural. It was easy. But here the academic standards are so much higher that you have to focus more on school, and basketball is kind of your second priority.
Everybody's got a role on the team. We talked about that even in your injury season. What is your role on this team? Because everybody probably knows Grace is going to be the leading scorer. Mackenzie's going to be inside rebounding. And I get the sense that with Samantha casting out, does your role shift a little bit where you have to sort of step out and be a little bit an outside weapon?
Yeah, I would say my role mainly is, I would say it's more on the defensive end to just play good defense and be a consistent player. I don't really need to be the scorer, of course, when you have Grace and Liz who do a great job of scoring every game. But it does help that I am able to shoot the ball pretty well. And he has like me and Tori. He always talks about we get after it on defense. And I think that's really important because it brings energy to the team too.
I've asked, you're the fourth one now. It's been Grace, Elizabeth, Mackenzie, now you. You haven't had a lot of home games, so I've gotten through the girls. I think you're the fourth one. And I've asked them all about the relationship of the team or the individual and Coach Reese. I'm going to spin it a different way for you because you seem to be the brunt of a lot of his picking on. Let's just go with that. It's almost like a hate-hate relationship. But my question to you is, why does that work? Why do you embrace that? Why? Not that you shouldn't, but everybody does. Why do you guys take to him as much as you do when he ribs you as much as he does? Because, and I told Mackenzie this, a lot of people get frustrated by that attitude and be like, this is not for me. I'm not playing for this guy. There's no way. But you guys, you're endearing with him. Why does it work so well?
I think you know when you get yelled at that it means your coach cares about you and he has certain expectations and standards set. So I feel like if we're not getting yelled at, it's kind of a problem. Maybe we've done something or messed up along the way. And me and Coach Reese, I'd say we have a pretty good relationship. We do joke around a lot, and I would say I take majority of the jokes, and there's a lot of inside jokes that people probably know about. But he just has a good relationship with all of us.
How much fun are you having right now? 5-2. If there is pressure, and you haven't shown it, your 2 losses are to good teams. 8th game of the year today. How much fun are you having right now?
Oh, it's really fun right now. We're all super excited. We have a trip to California, so I think that'll be really good to get our team bonded back together before we go back into conference play, too.
Assistant Sports Information Director Greg Teddish. That's Emily Coleman. Thanks for sitting in. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
That's our At the Half segment. We'll get stats coming up after this.